My personal and business goal is to be just a little bit better every day. I believe everyone, especially normal people, have a story to tell. The Virtus podcast exists to help us all find small ways of consistent improvement by discussing the journey and experiences of each of our guests.
Restart whatever you got to do.
Fires up, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, mate.
It's good to have you on, finally.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. First question for you. What gets you out of bed in the morning?
I knew this was coming, and I tried really hard not to formulate it to do it. I love doing things. I love life. I like getting up, whether it's... Most of the time I get up in the morning and the first thing I'm doing is unstacking the dishwasher and getting shit ready for Rach and the kids. But yeah, do that, then usually nick off to the gym and do something for me. And I don't know, I just like what are you going to do? Lie in bed for the rest of your life? Like, you're dead a long time.
That makes
so
the most of each day
oh,
and yourself.
Yeah, I try to.
Have you always been like that?
I've always been really interested in being the best version of myself. I love learning. I just like learning new things. I just always have.
Yep.
Been fascinated, been really curious. Shit's parents up the wall when you're a kid and shit's your missus up the wall when you're married. But
yeah.
It's just something inside me that I don't know, I get called a weirdo and that by a fair few people in my life. But I just like trying new things and trying to find little edges in what I can do for myself in all aspects of my life.
Where do you think that curiosity comes from?
Before kids, I would have told you that it was the way I was raised, but I got 4 kids now and each one of them is built different.
Yeah.
They come out and they're very different. I reckon there was already an innate curiosity there.
Yeah.
But I definitely think the environment I had at home, Dad's got that sort of strategic outlook on things, so likes to break things down.
And things work.
Yeah, so I think a bit of that fostered into me. And yeah, having brothers that are a little bit inclined to be curious and push the boundaries, and a cousin that spent a lot of time with us did the same. It was it was a pretty interesting childhood.
What was it like growing up in the Barry household?
Hectic. We were called the Breaker Brothers.
Good.
We weren't allowed to go out to dinner. We weren't allowed to go many places, to be honest, because we feral's not the right way to put it, because we're just curious. We were polite, we were really nice mannered, but we just like to see how things work, and kids get excited. We're very excitable. Yeah. Your typical ADD sort of kids, and very loud. There's a lot of people around in the Barry households.
How are you at school?
I was a pretty good student,
yeah.
For the most part. Primary school, I was very, very good. I sort of hadn't grown that self-confidence to push any boundaries yet. So I listened pretty well, and as I said, I had a thirst for knowledge, so I was always pretty keen to learn.
Yeah.
I got all pretty good grades and stuff in primary school, and then high school I was really good with subject matter. I was just no good with homework.
Yeah.
I'd rather kick the footy or
Yeah.
play outside than do any homework, so always did pretty well with the tests. Just didn't do well with getting an overall stuff. Yeah, doing any assessments or anything like
so
that.
You switched on enough to do what you need to do in class, you just didn't have any interest doing the extra stuff.
Yep.
Sounds familiar. Very familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. What did you want to be when you grew up, when you were a kid?
I wanted to play AFL footy, but I think a lot of us think that when we're younger. We like footy was, you'd understand you're naturally pretty good at most of those sports when you're young. You spend a lot of time doing it, and yeah, I was always one of the better footballers in the team, one of the best at school, that sort of thing. So you always just expect, and you got enough people telling you, oh, you're a gun. So you just think that's logically what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a plan B. I was actually really into computers and games and stuff during high school, and I thought I wanted to be a computer programmer.
Yeah, cool.
And I was actually really good at it. But by the time I hit 18, I got into the uni course that I wanted to do, and looked like that's where I was headed, and then just had that epiphany of, why the hell would I want to sit inside on a computer all day? And went balls up. So it was, AFL footballer, then computer programmer, and then third on the list was fiery. I wanted to be a fiery like my old man.
That's cool.
But I went through the process, had some issues. I'd gotten too many demerit points on my licence.
Oh, really?
So that got canned, and when I had the opportunity to go through it all again, I sort of swung on that. Kudos to all the firefighters out there. Like, I think it's brilliant. But knowing what I know now, I could never do that job. Like, my old man has PTSD, and like the stuff they've got to see, the shift work, just the chemicals they've got to be around. It's such a dangerous job, and not interested. That'd be worse than sitting at a computer all day for what I want to do with myself.
There's so many hazards involved in that job, both physically and psychologically. It's mind-blowing, and like, hats off to them, especially at the moment. Everything that's happening.
Bloody oath. Yeah. Like, you see the stuff, you read any of the articles about what pollies are saying about them, and it's just like, mate, if you only knew, like, it's so hard. Like, and if I didn't know my dad going through everything, I don't think I would have been as knowledgeable about it all. But if I wasn't as knowledgeable about all the stuff that I sort of think about in a day-to-day basis about being the best of who I am, and that requires sleep. So shift work fucks you. That requires not breathing in the shit that they're breathing in all the time, and then the stuff they got to see, like, mentally. Imagine doing that sort of stuff, like, horrible. And not being able to talk. You can't talk to your family about that because normal people don't understand.
No.
So
there's a special kind of person that goes through that stuff.
Yeah.
Like all of our emergency personnel.
Yeah. Yeah, like my brother's become a cop, and I think he's mental for doing that too. Like, we need him, we bloody need him. But they, all those emergency sort of personnel, they definitely don't get paid enough for what they do.
Tell me a bit about your AFL career as you were rolling through the end of school, and then those years when it was kind of really high on your to-do list. Yep.
Well, I was one of those guys that got invited to Stingrays every year, made the final group, and then got cut in the final cut. Oh, no. Year after year it happened. And I definitely think I didn't make enough impact on games.
Yep.
I definitely am better suited to a team that knows and understands how I play and who I am. So that definitely didn't help. And I didn't hit the numbers that they would have wanted running wise for my height. So knowing what I know now, there's things I could have probably done differently, but I wasn't good enough at the time to. Yeah, that's exactly right. You don't know what you don't know. You can't implement stuff that you don't know about. So I was, so I missed out on Stingrays, did interleague and whatnot through 18s. Played all my life at YC from under 9s to 15s. Then went to Seaford for a year, played with some guys from school because we didn't have an under 16s team at YC.
Yep.
But then for 18s, went across to Coringal, trained at YC in Coringal and Seaford, and Coringal butted me up the right way. I liked Wayne Spence was a senior coach down there and really liked what he was sort of going about. So ended up down there, played a few senior games, and then had an opportunity to go down to Frankston and thought maybe this is my way in, go play VFL. Almost got cut from there too. Only just scraped on. Played 6 years under Brett Lovett there, and had some opportunities, but again, probably didn't make quite the impact that I should have if I wanted to get drafted. You sort of play to your level, and knowing now what I know, you've got to do more than more than what I did. So
it's frustrating when you start realising those things, a while after you've been in those positions.
Yeah, and like I see it now with younger guys when you try and talk to them, and we're all the same. You get very defensive when someone tries to give you feedback. It doesn't matter how they sort of say it. And I look at those things Brett Lovett used to teach us and tell us, and at the time I'm like, oh, he just doesn't understand. But
really?
Then down the track you reflect on it and you go, fuck, if I had have taken that lesson 12 months earlier, or like, you learn it eventually, but it's, if you had that right mindset, you could have learned a lot quicker and been better for it. And as I said, like, you see that with the young guys now, and you just know at some point it's going to click, because like you said before, you don't know what you don't know. And if you could just go back and slap yourself around and go, hey, what about you do this?
If you're a young footballer listening, just listen to your coaches. They're mostly right.
Mostly.
Yeah. And then back to YC. Bunch of flags, team of the decade, all the good stuff.
Pretty funny. When I made the decision to come back, the last year I was at Frankston, I played under Shannon Grant. Now, brilliant footy brain, stolen a lot of his sort of drills and manipulated them to fit what I like, and he was really knowledgeable about the game. I just feel he didn't know the playing group that well, and he'd come from an AFL system where it's full time. They have the players there for all those hours. He tried to introduce the leading teams principle down at Frankston, and he was keeping guys till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And when guys live all the way out in Druin and that sort of thing, it doesn't really work well. So the actual culture down there started to fall apart. So I didn't enjoy that last year. For the 5 or 6 years under Brett Lovett, loved it. Like, I was really, really loving playing that level of footy and didn't mind the commitment and that. And then when I didn't enjoy it in the last year, I decided, all right, well, I need a break from that. Go back to local, go down, play under the Uncle Bugsy down at YC. And wasn't that a good decision? It was a great decision. So people often ask, so won a few grand finals over here? Yeah, 7 flags. It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's huge. It's crazy. It's crazy to think, like, because I remember my first year under Bugs I was 17, so it was 11 years ago, 2008, 2009.
Wow.
When were you, 2010?
I came back 2010, yeah.
2010, so I think I started playing seniors a year before you got there.
Yep,
and then
sounds about right.
The year after I was back in Stingrays and stuff like that, so I was only back and forward, but I could just, like, that year, remember BT pulled us aside one game and just like, what are we doing? Like, why aren't we winning? And just like, so I'm sick of fucking losing. And then we didn't lose much for the next 10 years. So we need to have another one of those chats, I think.
Need to get BT down and just tell us all, hey, we don't lose.
It was an incredible run.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And try and break down what created that success, but so many things have to go right. Like, any one of those years we could have been pipped at the final post, or any one of those years guys could have chosen not to put in the work at November, December time, and we were just so lucky. Like, there was so many people that did the right things to get that through. Though, like, that's
the thing with any team success is it's so many things. It's not like, just this player or just this training situation or whatever. It's a bunch of different things that need to go right.
Yeah. And you'd clone Ash if you could and have a young Eamesy running around every time, but
it's incredible.
But yeah, like, you look back and you compare. Sometimes do. I look at all the different teams who had in the 7 flags. It's like, what team's going to beat who? And but then there's 7 different versions of me too. Like, what year was I better? And so it's
probably.
Bloody oath. Just like a wine, mate, getting better with age.
I think a big part of that, because, like, I was obviously been lucky enough to play alongside you, so a big part of you getting better is just your hunger for learning and finding different things to tweak that performance just slightly. Where do you get all your crazy shit from?
I love podcasts. That's why I'm stoked when you wanted to get me on here, but I love them. Just because it's a chance for you to get to hear the knowledge from the people that are doing the work.
Yeah.
I back when I was first at Frankston, I used to go to the library and hire books out.
That's cool. Doesn't have that's not common.
No, but like I'd hire. There's one book that sticks in my memory. I can't remember the author, but it was Functional Movement for Sports, and it's stuff that people were only just starting to do, and it was like really good, like insight and that. But as I've sort of gotten older and grown up in the generation we have now, like with the internet and that, you're getting information that isn't in books yet, because books are being written and produced, and by the time they come out, that information's 3 or 4 years old. You could have got access to it if you knew the researchers or you knew the people that were doing that work.
To the right people.
And that's what I love about listening to the podcast. And I love it because you hear these random things or crazy ideas, and it just gives me something to do with my little lunch breaks. And I go down a rabbit hole, and I like to find out more information, and I'll either look for the studies or I'll take anecdotal evidence and try it on myself, because
see if it works.
I quite often, you know, when people talk to me about it, they're, oh, well, why would you try that? I'm like, well, it might work. Well,
why not?
What's the downside? Like, as long as I'm not going to cause...
You miss going footy because you are...
I learned a good lesson.
Tell us. Enlighten us.
I'd been eating... Well, I was doing the carnivore diet when I did it, but I was trying to eat a lot of organ meats, and I don't really like cooked liver. So what I was doing is I was getting fresh liver, I was chopping it up and freezing it and having it in little batches out of the freezer. Now the idea was that if you freeze it for longer than a week, it's meant to kill off certain microbes and the bacteria that should... You're still taking a bit of a risk, but it was alleviating that risk. I'd run out of the stuff that I'd frozen, so I decided to have some fresh out of the fridge. Beautiful, cut it up, had it with my steak. Ended up with the squirts for about a week. Lost about 7 kilos. But the crazy the crazy part was everyone's going, oh, well, that's what you get for eating raw liver.
You've been doing it for a while.
I had I'd been doing it for quite a while without any adverse effects, and a couple of days later I went in to clean out the fridge because I clearly wasn't eating because everything was going straight through me. The kidney that I'd had in there, I had kidney in the fridge as well, was rat shit covered in mold. It was crook, and I'm like, hold on, that was sitting next to... I didn't even notice it when I went to get liver. I'm tipping the liver was probably off. So it wasn't just from eating raw liver, although could have been. Maybe. But
I guess that's
not
cool thing.
Without
Some
risk.
of the things are going to work, some of them aren't. But at least you're having a crack and trying it and trying to like figure out what does help and what doesn't.
Yeah, and I'm a massive believer in bio-individuality. Like, we're all different. We are all really different. So what works for one person is not necessarily going to work for others. And there's been... Like, that's probably the worst side effect I've had through all my little different experiments. But there's been heaps of shit that I've tried and gone, oh, yeah, that doesn't work.
There's stuff. What are the things that you've held on to or kept doing because you actually feel like they make a real difference? It can be training, it can be nutrition, whatever.
There's a few. Nutrition-wise, I love fasting. It's become a big part of... my sort of, I'd say, protocols. It just gives me something that I can go back to as a bit of a reset. I do both extended fasts at times and intermittent fasting depending on what my goals are. Intermittent fasting works really well for me to I like to consume a lot of food at one time. So
you shorten the window, you can shorten the calories you consume.
So it works well for me, and I do it quite comfortably. I wouldn't have done it comfortably 10, 15 years ago, but through all my experimentation, I did the keto diet about, it would have been 10 years ago. Probably 10 years ago. I gave that a bit of a nudge, and I think we've spoken about it before, but I did it and didn't find a massive drop-off. There was definitely a little drop-off in performance and stuff, but it wasn't a massive drop-off. but then reintroducing carbohydrates after that, there was definitely a performance increase.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, it worked, it did its job, but prior to doing that, I was eating the typical bodybuilder sort of setup where I was eating 5 or 6 meals a day, that whole speed your metabolism up approach, and then all of a sudden after I did keto, my appetite was severely diminished.
Okay.
I could still eat the same amount of calories,
Yep.
but I could now,
But yeah, it was harder to do it.
if someone said, "Oh, you can't have brekkie today," it wasn't like I wasn't going to get hangry and lose my shit. Like I could just go, "Oh, okay, I'll just eat more at lunch."
Yeah,
That's
cool.
sweet. So that gave me that ability, and then I went off and did, experimented with fasting after that.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one that stayed in.
What's the longest extended fast you've done?
Done 4.5 days.
That's tough.
Yeah. So
What was it like?
it was actually really, really good. It was hard because I was still working and being around guys that are eating and having forced meal breaks.
Yeah.
So that side of it was tough. I had a function on one of the nights, so that was tough to say no to food.
Yeah.
But physically, I actually felt pretty good. I started to run out, like I suppose you'd say, it just hit a bit of a wall on the 5th day. That's why I broke the fast. And I had stuff there to break the fast with. That was the whole idea. But looking back, I think it was more electrolytes than anything else. It was just, I started to feel fatigued and just had no go. Like, so yeah, I was like, yeah, I'm starting to feel
were you
it.
set on it being 4.5 days, or was
No, it was just
open-ended?
it was just open ended.
Okay.
I was just like, well, I'll see how I go.
Yeah.
I'd heard of a few people doing sort of a week, 2 weeks. I was like, well, I'm just going to see how I go. Prior to that, I'd done 48 hours, and I'd done a few 48 hours and then a training session, and felt like got through the training session fine. So I
There's
knew,
an appreciation for what we really need,
yes,
but compared to like what we want at the time, and obviously that's going to impact your long-term performance. But short-term, we don't actually need all that much.
yeah, it's pretty crazy what it does, and I've tried to explain this to people that are like really against it. I'm like, well, even if you're not doing it for the physical benefits, mentally, it makes you actually really appreciate, like, not just food, but it makes you appreciate like the ease of how we have things too. When you watch people, when you're in that state, you're not eating, you know you're not eating, and you're looking at people around you, and just the ease of which people eat, and
eat without really being intentional or paying attention to
Yeah.
what they're putting in.
and
So I do that most mornings. I go on a coffee, and I've almost, you don't enjoy coffee the same when you have it the same thing every morning.
yep,
So it's almost like that break from whatever you're doing, eating, training, footy, like whatever. It gives you a newfound sense of appreciation for that thing.
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And I reckon it's been good to take that same mentality, and you can apply it to other things, like you said. It's not just food. It's being able to hold out and, all right, well, as long as you've got that goal, you know you can sort of stick to it. Yeah.
With all the different diets you've tried and things like fasting and different eating patterns and things like that, what's been the single or the couple of epiphanies that you've kind of had around food and how we actually look at these things?
One of the things that I think is underrated is, I don't know how to, appreciating it. Like, it sounds sort of strange to say, but like if I do it quite regularly, I'll have just one meal a day. You really appreciate that dinner. And I always make it dinner when I do it. I'll get up, work, train, then come home and have dinner. And you really appreciate it. And when you cook it up and when you fast for that long, you taste everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just shoveling food in your mouth for the sake of it. You actually taste everything. So you're more deliberate with what you're putting in, and you're actually thinking about it more. Now, I've been in that mode too, where I've become obsessive about it, been thinking all day about my meal, and that's not a good place to be. But actually appreciate it. And I don't think a lot of people do. So I like now, one of the things I'm trying really hard to do, and it's not always easy because we're always busy, but now I'm trying to slow down with every meal I have. I don't eat fast anyway, but just making sure that's the focus. Like, hey man, you're eating now. We're not working and eating. We're not jumping in the car and speeding off to somewhere, shoving something in my mouth. Let's be deliberate about it. I've done different experiments with increasing stomach acid and playing around with like trying to speed up metabolism, slow it down. I've done experiments around that, and I definitely think you feel better if you sit down, you stop, and you just eat. I think you just digest it better. You just don't. I don't suffer from bad bloating or anything like that, but gas and stuff like that, if you're rushing stuff down, you definitely feel a lot worse.
Yeah, definitely. And just that ability to be able to stop for a second, like regardless of the eating part. Very few of us. I was sitting just out front just before you got here with one of the boys, and we were just sitting there looking, and he goes, it's nice to just sit. He's been working hard all day, and he's driven an hour to get here to train, and he's done his session, and he's just sitting there. It's like, it's nice to just sit. And I'm like, you probably haven't stopped all day. He's like, no, I haven't. So just that ability for us to be able to stop and be in the moment, as wanky as it sounds, like just be.
It's becoming a rare and rarer commodity now too, the ability to not be engaged. Now I am listening to podcasts on my way to the gym in the morning. I'm listening to them on the way from the gym to work. Like, I've always got something going on. But there's the gym I'm currently at, there's a Juve light there, and that's why I started going there.
Yeah.
And when I'm in there, there's 15 minutes, pure silence.
Yeah, awesome.
And it's amazing where your mind starts to take you when you take your 15 minutes. Yeah. And I find that when you do, like, did a float tank not too long ago as well, and using the saunas, if you switch everything off and just have your own time for a bit, it's amazing where your mind can go. And I've tried doing mindfulness and stuff at home, and it's too easy to get distracted when stuff's around. Yeah. But nobody does it. No. And that's why, like, there's all that research coming out about how powerful it is for you, and it's like, well, there's a reason. Because we're all addicted to our phones. We're all addicted to it all.
We're addicted to input. Like the podcasts, music, talking to people on our phones. Like, there's never most of us would spend time sitting down, watching telly, browsing Instagram, talking to someone all at the same time. Yeah. Whereas we don't find the time or create the space to actually have no inputs anymore. And that ability for us to it's great having things like a float tank or a sauna for us to force it, but it's just it's harder just to do it just wherever you are. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing this. Like, this is an input and an output at the same time, but it's an ability for us to sit here, look at each other for an hour, and just have a conversation. Which never really happens that often anymore.
There's always some form of distraction here or there.
How often do you float tank?
I've only done it a couple of times, and had to cancel my last one, so I'm due to go back in the new year. Mum got me a few for my birthday this year. Good mum.
Shout out.
Thanks, Mum. She won't listen to this. But it's something I'm curious to explore a little bit more. Yeah. Find it. I'm getting better at doing mindfulness stuff on the home front. Yeah. But I still struggle. There's just always something, and I find when you get out of there, like, this is brilliant. Like, you can have a conversation and you've put an hour aside and no one's coming. But at home, it's like, well, I could quickly just go do that. Order that. There's always something to be done. Yeah. And your mind goes straight there.
There's always more work to be done.
Never ends.
And you do that work, and there's going to be more stuff there. So maybe it is worth taking the half an hour or the hour or the however long to chill out. Like, that's what I love about float tanks, is that no matter what, you've got an hour to yourself. Yeah. And I find it really interesting how I feel during it. Like, sometimes I'll fall asleep. Sometimes I'll be so wired that I'm like, this is the worst thing in the world. The hour feels like about 6 hours. Like, I probably had maybe 2 or 3 of those. I would have done it 30, 40 times probably.
Oh, wow.
But there's the falling asleep because I'm just cooked, and that's my first time I've actually chilled out for a second. Or there's the too wired, but then there's the one in the middle where you're in a good headspace and you go in and it's almost like in the darkness you just like pull a thread in your mind and it just unravels and you just follow it.
Yep.
And you think about 100 different things in the hour, but you walk out just being like, I needed that thought process to occur so that I could feel like I don't have anything else up there.
Yeah, it's weird how it's going down your own rabbit hole, isn't it? It's following your own thoughts and seeing. We don't get a chance to explore where they lead. When you spend time with yourself, you got that many, like you said, input from everywhere that you don't get a chance to really follow where that goes.
What are your daily habits that you feel as though help fuel your, I guess, curiosity or search for being better?
I definitely need exercise. And I'm lucky I work in a physical job, so I can get that without needing to go to a gym or get up and go for a run. But if I have a lazy day on a weekend, that throws me for a curveball. I'll get sucked back into all sorts of poor behaviours, just addictive sort of behaviours, whether it's scrolling through Facebook for 40 minutes without actually looking at anything or like those sorts of things. So exercise is definitely one. I need to have a focus for the day. I generally think about that, and I get a lot of inspiration from the podcasts I listen to or whatever I'm sort of working through at the time. It gives me something to focus on when I'm going about my day. Sort of break down how something's going to influence me or what I'm going to do with this new idea that I've got or how I can explore it. So I spend a bit of time doing that. It just gives me something to focus on. And the other one's sleep. And I'm usually pretty good at it now. Like, the kids make it hard sometimes, but definitely I don't charge my phone near the bed anymore. Try not to look at that past a certain time. The aim is that I'm in bed by 7:30 every night, but that's not always achievable.
It's currently 8:08.
And training doesn't make that easy either. It was great. I was having a little break pre-season. I was able to get into bed real early, put the kids to bed and then jump in myself. Got my little red glasses, mate. Massive believer in them. People don't believe in that either, but I love it. I definitely find they make a difference. The other thing's just the basic nutrition stuff. If I eat, and for me it's most carbohydrates. There's some carbohydrates I can get away with, but most carbs, if I have them early in the day, that throws me for a curveball as well.
That's interesting.
So I do it around, I can do it like on a footy day, no problems there, because I've obviously got a big session coming out. But even if it's oats or something in the morning, it definitely flicks a little switch in my brain, and it makes me more inclined to eat more or crave more. But it's not, I've noticed it's not just food. I'll find myself creeping onto my phone, and I'm assuming it's obviously some sort of dopamine issue there, that I'm just chasing something. But I very cognizant of it. Like,
do you feel like all of your experimenting and learnings around all of the things that, like, because you're not just a learn the thing, but you're a learn the thing and then do the thing. Do you feel that all of that just helps build awareness around what your body actually needs? You're much more on top of it. Because most people, you get an average person off the street, and they're not going to have a clue how that food or that food or that food or that bit of sleep or that hydration difference or whatever, how that will actually affect them. Whereas because you've had so much experimenting and so much trial and error, you can kind of go, okay, well, I know if I have that to eat, I'll feel great for half an hour, but then I'll crash. Or, if I do eat that thing, then I'm going to spend more time on the phone. I'm going to waste time later on, and I'm not going to be as mindful as I could have been. Yep,
definitely. And like you said, it's one thing to have the ideas, and I have all these different ideas of things I want to try. And the reason I try them is because you get feedback about how that affects you. And some things, and I tend to do like all these sort of overlapping ones and go back and try different things. And I was talking to a bloke today just about the carnivore diet. I've done it twice, and I love it, but it doesn't fit in with my lifestyle. So for me, that just gives me another tool as like a reset diet. So it gives me something to go back to when I want to experiment. Here, this is a way to go back to base. But it's like that with everything. Like I know I can fast. If I need a reset, we can go back to that. And then I can introduce stuff little bit by little bit. And you learn once you know something that triggers you. Like I said, for me, like I know heaps of people that can eat whatever they want and it doesn't change their behaviour. But I know for me, it does. It just makes it so much harder for me to say no to those addictive behaviours. And I can have them at night before bed, not a problem. I'll still put my phone in the other room. I'll go back. Not a drama. I can backload them then. There's just certain things that set me off. And it's definitely things that spike that blood sugar that do that to me. But when you're experimenting with all these things, you just pick up on these little behaviours. Now I know that one, so I don't have to revisit that. But there's other things sometimes you go, oh, I wonder what it was. Because sometimes it's the fact that you got bills to pay and you're stressed and you're not sleeping and it's like, oh, did I eat too much broccoli? No, man, it's the fact that you weren't sleeping. So, but sometimes there's confounding factors that you got to work through them. So you go back and you make the same mistakes again and you go, oh, those things marry up.
Like health's multifactorial, as is performance. So if we're looking, okay, I want to be as healthy as I can, which that's kind of like the first step to I want to perform as well as I can. If we're not, we notice it with our athletes in here is that if someone's coming to an exam period or they've got that high level of output expected at work because it's coming up to Christmas time or it's whatever, that's going to affect their performance. So then all of the things that have to change is we need to make sure they're getting more rest. We need to change what they're doing in the gym. And there's so many different factors that need to be altered because of that output or the inputs that are coming in. So when you understand that, when you know better, you can do better. Like it's kind of that next step from if you don't know, you don't know. But when you know better, you can do better. And then you can, and if you can find a way to measure it, and I guess you just do that by how you're feeling. It's subjective, but you can ask yourself that 10 times a day and go, okay, well, what actually helped and what didn't? And then you know for next time what you need to do to move the needle.
And
great.
That's the thing. Like I've measured stuff in the past. Think back to like when doing keto and you measure blood glucose and ketones and occasionally I pull out the glucometer and just do random tests and stuff. But I find sometimes that influences you too. Like I like to go off how I feel. Now I have regular-ish blood tests just to make sure everything's not crazy out of whack. But sometimes I feel like that can influence things in the wrong way too.
It's just part of a battery of tests or of questions you've got to ask
so
that you get the whole picture. Because if you just go by how you feel and then 6 months later you get a blood test and everything's out of whack, then okay, well, that lower level of performance or health that you've got because of that blood test is just your new normal now, so you haven't realised that you're actually not performing at the highest level. So that's why we can use, like if we use things like blood tests and data that we get for whatever, whether it's performance-based or health-based, we can use all that to create that picture and go, okay, well, here's the lever I need to push or pull to actually change things.
Yeah, those performance-based ones are really good too, because it's one thing to say, oh, I feel bloody great, and then you go to do a pull-up and you can't get yourself up. I could do 12 2 months ago. Like you do, you do have standards, and it's just it's knowing when it matters and when it doesn't, and fuck if I know, mate. Like there's science and art there, and I'll keep throwing shit at the wall till some of it sticks. And
that's what I really like about you is that there's an understanding that if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And just move on to the next thing, or put it in the toolbox for when you need it. Yeah,
and that's the thing. Like I said before, there's part of me I'd love to go back and just give myself, my younger self, here you go. Here's all the tools. But I wouldn't have known how to use them back then either. Like, you make these mistakes and you learn and you grow. And keep doing it. Like I said to the bloke today, I'll keep doing it till I'm done. He goes, it'll kill you one day. Well, it might. But
or it might mean
it might mean that I get to play footy till I'm 50. Like, who?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're going right at the moment.
I don't feel, especially when I get guys coming up to me all the time that are like my age and, you're still going around again. How's the body? It's like, mate, I feel great. I feel as good as I've ever felt.
Keep going.
Now, that does require, I make sure I'm doing all the little things that I know work for me.
Adds a little more commitment every year.
Yeah, I do like having me nice hot baths or me cold immersion or like I get up at 3 to go to the gym. If I don't do these things, I'm probably not going to maintain. But I like doing it.
Well, that's it. One of the best questions to ask if someone's doing something that's different. It's like, okay, well, how's that working for you? And it's either, well, it is or it isn't.
Yeah.
And if it's not working well, okay, something's got to change. If you want to get to where you want to get to.
Yeah.
And if it's working well, then fucking keep doing it. like that's where we get caught up in this diet's best or this way of training's the best or whatever. Well, like if it's working for you and you're moving well and there's no side effects or there's no adverse reactions from it, then keep fucking doing it.
That's like, you follow some of these guys, like I really like John Berardi's take on diet and nutrition and stuff, but there's so much information out there, and what I've seen through doing stuff on myself, some things work for some times and other things work for other times, but some things work for me that aren't going to work for others. And it's, if you go, oh no, this is the best one, this is all you can do, well, it really closes you out to all the other modalities out there.
Like, there's no perfect diet, and like the diet that's perfect for you now is going to be different to the diet that's perfect for you in 5 years, and that's what we need to realise. It's what frustrates me so much about people that get go on a site for this kind of stuff. Like, you got the
Carnivore versus vegans,
fighting the vegans who are fighting the vegetarians who are fighting the omnivores who are fighting the people who love keto, who are fighting the guys that love paleo. It's just like, you're all both right and wrong, depending on what you're actually looking for.
Becomes a religion to some of them too. Like,
people need identity, and that's one of the things that, like, why people join groups and why people find themselves in an area that may be completely left of what is the norm. Because people love identity. They need identity, and they need that thing to belong to. But it's when that takes over. Yeah,
that's true.
Their thing, like,
and you see plenty of that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I like about Facebook, just the amount of groups you can be on, and you get the people that are way out, whether it's left or right, they're way out, and the stuff they throw, and then sometimes they'll give you something that's like, hold on, maybe that works. That sort of makes sense, and it gives you another rabbit hole to look at and go down, and it's good. But we couldn't have done that 10 years ago when I was walking in the libraries. 15 years ago.
Like, it creates unprecedented connection, but then it levels out everyone's voice so that everyone has the same level of influence to an extent. Obviously, people have more followers and all that kind of stuff. But, there's no like background checks for the guy who's running the nutrition 101 group on Facebook and doesn't have a fucking clue what he's talking about.
So true.
So that's where it's dangerous, and rather than teaching people
massively
this is the way to do things, we should be teaching and learning in, when we're younger at school and things like that is, okay, well, how do we discern between genuine usable information that's being ticked off, and then Joe Blow from down the street who's gone on a YouTube rabbit hole on why the earth is flat.
I love it. That's exactly right. You just need a good bullshit meter, don't you? And how do you teach that?
How do you discern, like, how's your bullshit meter going? Because you obviously, like, love those rabbit holes and like chasing the.
I love getting sucked in. I'll buy into a good conspiracy any day of the week, but I won't implement anything that I haven't read the other side to.
Yeah.
So when I was trying carnivore, the biggest thing everyone goes, what are you going to do for micronutrients? And that was why I was doing organ meats.
Yeah.
But it was also one of those things that I did want to have a read in what is actually in there and what do I actually need. It wasn't necessarily about, for me, it was just another experiment. It wasn't, this is going to make me a super athlete or anything. It was just another one of those things.
You're already one of those.
Is this, if it's not going to do any irreparable harm, I'll give it a try.
Why not? Yeah.
So, but you have to read the other side. And that's where, like carnivore and vegans, that's a perfect example because they're so polar opposites. And if you go on and listen to anyone that's on one side or the other real deep, they will give you so many reasons not to try the other person's. Then it's just a matter of working out, all right, well, how much truth is there in that? There's enough information out there that you can't just do a quick Google search. You've got to find reputable sources or use PubMed. There's ways of finding out, okay, well, that measures up. And then it's just working out. It's wading through the bullshit. Now, like I said, I can't think of any off the top of my head, but other than maybe the liver. But I've made heaps of mistakes along the way. Like I've tried stuff that...
That's how we learn.
And gone, yeah, that was probably not the greatest idea. I don't know why I thought that was going to work. But I think it's that risk versus reward ratio too. Like if someone goes, all right, get these cardboard boxes, tape them together and jump off the cliff. It's like, well, what if they don't work? Oh, you're dead. Well, that's not a really good risk. Whereas if you jump off the couch, see if they work, maybe that's worth trying. You know what I mean?
I haven't watched any lately. I'm a sucker for a good fail video compilation, which most people are because it's hilarious. Like I look at that, like same kind of deal. You look at it, and you're okay, risk versus reward. This person that's done this thing, even if you landed it, wouldn't have been that good. So why the fuck are you risking your legs or whatever? Then you go something, okay, that was really cool. Yeah. And it's worth it. It's exactly the same with how we look at health and fitness and training and things like that. Okay, well, sure, this thing could help, or it could, put you back 6 months.
Yeah.
Is it worth it? Probably not. This thing that could help or put you back a week, it's probably worth it.
Yeah.
Because you can catch that back up and then if it doesn't work, just try something else.
And that's pretty much the way I look at it.
Yeah, and that variability for you is impressive in terms of what you eat and what you do, because most people just find their thing and stick to it. Like I've found that with my coaching's had to develop so much over the last 10 years is because I found a thing that I thought worked, and then you find another thing that's meant to be the complete opposite that also works. And like, okay, well, something's not right here. Yeah. And it just becomes like there's so much more. Like it doesn't matter what the topic is, whether it's training or nutrition or world politics or global warming. It doesn't fucking matter. There's so much more to it than we realise.
Well, that's the thing that has frustrated the shit out of me too. Is I did a health coach course a couple of years ago because I was like, I'm super passionate about all that stuff. I'm like, that'll be grouse. I'm like, pretty much all they taught I already knew. But I'd seen other sides to a lot of the stuff they were presenting too that I knew worked. So I did this whole course and I haven't used any of it yet, other than experimenting with myself, of course. But I thought, that'd be grouse. But the more I sort of learn, the more I realise there is to learn. Like I'm never going to be finished learning, man.
It's the best/worst part about it.
Yeah.
Like you go down the rabbit hole, you realise that, okay, well, this rabbit hole that I thought was going to have an end has 17 other rabbit holes going off it. And those rabbit holes have another 17, and it's just...
It's just like every door is a hallway with 10 doors, and you just go, what the hell? I thought I had this. I thought I almost had it figured out. And... but you're right. People get stuck in. This is grouse. This works. And I suppose I've done enough now, just because I'm curious and I want to try shit. I've done enough now to go, well, all of it works and none of it works. Like it depends who you are, how you apply it, when you apply it, what else you're doing. Like so many factors.
And dose obviously matters. And then
yeah. And I don't know. I'll keep doing it till I'm 150 and still kicking.
That's it. Like I don't know. The thing it should come back to is, okay, what are you trying to achieve? Is it getting you there? Yes or no? And then you can kind of discern what thing you actually need to push. Yeah.
And I suppose with the more stuff that I like at the moment, I'm playing around with microbiome stuff and having to play with that.
That's cool.
That's pretty interesting, but I have a lot less risk now with some of that stuff because, like I said before, if it doesn't work, I just go back, reset, and start again. Like, as long as the more I do, I find I've taken a lot of risk out.
Yeah.
Physically trying different things, there's more risk involved with physical sort of stuff. But even then, as long as you reduce the risks and you're not going to break your leg doing something stupid, I think it's worth trying.
Just don't do anything too hectic during footy season. Now, I've got to ask you, what's with the group you added me to about a month ago?
All right.
So,
I
because potentially a bunch of people that you're going to share this and they're going to be in that group. You know, what the fuck is Byron doing? Fill us in.
Well, a post came up from Gameface about a month ago.
Yep.
If you have an idea for a podcast. Now, my idea for a podcast was I want to moderate people from opposing groups. And like I said before, vegans and carnivores are the best. But flat earthers and non are great. Like regular people. But because I want to see those Facebook arguments in a room where people go at each other. And I want to hear the crazy shit, but I want to hear the real shit. And listening to podcasts, and it's awesome because Joe Rogan's obviously just released one where they're actually debating shit out.
It's been a really interesting kind of like progression with it, with how it's gone. Yeah,
it looks like it's going to keep progressing too, from what I've seen, which is grouse.
Yeah.
But I was like, you always hear one side, and that's what I was starting to find. The more, like I said, like I take these ideas from what I've heard in the podcast, and how can I use it, and will it help me in any way? But then you hear something completely different from a professional that has as much sort of qualification for having an opinion on it, that pretty much has the opposing view. And you're like, well, who's right? Like, when you only hear one side of the argument, you believe them. When you hear that side of it, it's like, what happens when they get together? And that's what I wanted to see. And we're talking to a guy at work about it. He's like, yeah, that's grouse. He bought right into it. Then this game face thing popped up. I'm like, I'm going to chuck my idea at them. Like, it's one of those things that I had the idea. I'd love to see it, but I don't have a hell of a lot of free time to be chasing it up. And they're like, well, we love the idea. If you're keen, we'll get it happening. So the idea of the Facebook page was, I'll open up a page, see if I can find people that are going to throw ideas up of, because I've got a list of the general sort of ones.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's got to be other stuff that I'm not thinking about that I can find people for. The hardest part at the moment is actually finding people that want to come on. The people that have been chasing up don't want to come on. They're not confident enough with what they're saying. I'm like, well, that's what you're going to get from a lot of keyboard warriors. Like, they've got a chance to stop, think about, come up with their perfect argument back.
I almost bid on a couple of them today. I've got one of my rules is I don't argue on the internet.
It's a very good rule.
Like a life rule.
I made the mistake nearly 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I got it, and it took up half my day. Yeah. Just writing back and forth, and at the end of it, there was no resolution. I was like, well, we both think the exact same thing we thought beforehand. We both think we're right. This isn't going to work.
Yeah, but that's what's been really interesting around the one that Rogan's just kind of released, and it's going on. There's both of them are right in different aspects, and both of them have been able to disprove the other on different aspects. And both of them realise that, okay, well, there's, like we said before, there's a bunch of right answers and there's a lot of depends. And like, I don't know, for me, the depends bit's almost enough. Like, it's almost, that answer's like, it's okay. Like, I'm okay with finishing it there. Like, a lot of depends. Like,
well, I've actually set up my page and everything on Facebook for health coaching and that. It depends. That's what it's called, because it does. It depends. There's nothing on there yet because I haven't put any content there. But that's exactly it. Like, it depends on what you want. Like, there's going to be a different diet if you're trying to bulk up or cut down. There's different reasons whether you need to be lifting or be doing cardio or like what you're eating. Like, there's different goals for you. If you got cancer, you're not going to be eating the same as someone that's trying to put on 10 kilos. Like, there's different things for you, and I suppose that's one of the things that I'm still sort of experimenting with too, because some of the shit that I do is experimenting with stuff that I don't know whether it's going to have an influence. You're just taking professionals' words for it. Like, things like the extended fasting, the autophagy benefits are meant to be great, but who really knows? Like, I'm not going to know that. And like, I could get to 80 and not get cancer, or it could have been those fasts.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah, well, that's it.
You'll never know.
It's just so many factors.
Some of
that
it's
just,
yeah, but
yeah.
some of the big ones are sleep. Sleep's the biggest one.
Yeah.
But no, if you're not sleeping properly.
Yeah, well, I think we start to realise, like, there's big rocks and there's little rocks. So, like, the big rocks are the sleep and the food and the hydration and the, you know, managing stress levels, and actually those things are more important than, you know, training if we're trying to improve things. Like, yes, we need the training, but if we don't have those things first, then you're kind of wasting your time. And that's one of the things that has been, I guess, shown to me or proven to me over and time again over the last 10 years of being a coach, and the last 4 or 5 years of doing this, is just that if we don't have the big rocks sorted, then there's going to be a ceiling to how much we can actually move the needle.
Yeah, you put I put a post up a while back to the footy group just about like trying out like a pre-workout, because a lot of them take pre-workouts. I'm like, well, I'm sure I can make a better one.
Yeah.
And I put it out, and the feedback was good.
Yeah.
But you made such a valid point. Your comment was, well, if you're not doing everything else right, like, there's no point
just sleep
doing this.
Here's your pre-workout, 8 hours of sleep and
tick
a
all
good meal.
if you tick all those boxes,
still
that might give you a leg up. But it's if you're not ticking all those boxes, it's there's no point trying something out of left field if you can't get the basics right.
Yeah, but fuck pre-workouts off. You don't need them.
I was
mostly.
Yeah.
But it depends.
Caffeine's one of the ones that I was taking before footy, and I think that's going now.
Yeah.
Because I don't take pre-workouts before I do gym, before I train, anything like that.
I think like caffeine, it works.
Caffeine, and it was really good for me because it makes me chatty. It makes me really chatty. So that side of it was brilliant on the footy field.
Like, that gets to know his opponent during a football game.
They love it.
It's so fucking funny. Oh man, some guys, like, this is just some guys who I know who are, like, don't know you, will just be like, what the fuck's he on about? Like, man, I still don't know. I've known him for 10 years, I still don't know. I love it.
I just love it because, like, people come down to watch that, like, know me and Bundy, and they're like, Bundy just frowns all the time, won't say anything to you, and you're giving thumbs up and talking. Yeah, well, you've got to enjoy what you do.
Yeah, well, 100% you've got to enjoy it.
But we are different, and we're all different.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess that's like the crux of all this is, no matter what you do, no matter like what diet you choose, what sleep pattern you decide on, you know, whatever, we're all different, and you've just got to find the thing that works for you.
Yeah. There's no point doing shit that doesn't work for you.
Exactly. One last question for you before we finish up. What are you most excited for?
Oh, Jesus. All right. Can I give you 2?
Yeah.
All right. I'm short term. I'm really excited for the next 12 months, both like sports wise and family life wise.
Mm-hmm.
Rach is going back to work next year. We've got a good plan for
awesome.
Kids with getting care and that. So hopefully we can start to make some headway with some of our debt. So I'm really excited to really knuckle down and have a good year on that front. Awesome. But also excited that there's a real chance for me to learn some stuff. We got Gooch coming on next year, and even Craig seems really knowledgeable. Already a couple of things I've pointed out that's maybe go, never really looked at it like that. So I reckon I'm going to get heaps out of that. And the other thing I'm really, really excited about is to see if I can hang around long enough to play footy with one of my boys.
That's pretty cool.
That's sounds like a weird sort of long-term goal, but I reckon I can do it.
It's a really cool, like, okay, well, this is where I want to head. Okay, what needs to happen? You just reverse engineer it from there.
Yep.
Like, there's so much. Yeah, well, that's pretty cool. I like that. Like, if you keep looking after yourself the way you are and keep finding those little gems in terms of performance and health, then no reason why you can't do it. Yeah, Gordo Hendry style. Beautiful, mate. Thanks for coming on.
No worries. Thanks for having us, mate.